The deepest cut wasn't that he left you. It was that he had no idea what he was leaving behind. It was never just a simple breakup. It was the dismissal of a connection that felt sacred, a quiet peace that had settled over his life from the moment you entered it. But he never saw it as a gift you brought. For him, that stability was just a given, like the air he breathed. He mistook the blessing of your presence for his own good luck. He didn't walk away because the love was gone. He walked away because he had grown so comfortable in the harmony you created that he could no longer see its source. He got so used to the warmth of the fire that he forgot someone was tending the flames. Your pain, then, wasn't just a lonely sting of rejection. It was a profound, aching sadness, the kind you feel when you watch someone unknowingly throw away a priceless treasure. You knew, with a certainty that settled deep in your bones, that you were a source of favor in his world. You were the quiet force that kept the storms at bay, the steady hand that brought order to his chaos. And the agony was in the realization that he was completely blind to it. He loved the light your presence cast on his life, but he never once thought to look up and acknowledge the source. He simply assumed the sun would always shine for him. And then the universe began to correct its own balance. It wasn't a loud, dramatic crash. There was no single tragedy, no great fall from grace. Instead, his life, once so smooth and blessed, became a series of small, frustrating frictions. It was the principle of you reap what you sow, playing out not as a storm, but as a constant grinding headwind. You started to hear about it, then you started to see it. The car that had always been his pride and joy now seemed to betray him at the worst moments, leaving him stranded on the side of the road. His once robust health began to fray at the edges, nothing serious, just a collection of nagging issues, a bone-deep exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. At work, where things once fell into place for him effortlessly, he was now mired in pointless arguments and miscommunications that stalled every project. He was losing things, keys, important documents, his own train of thought. The change was visible on him too. The easy confidence in his posture was gone, replaced by a subtle slump, as if he were carrying an invisible weight on his shoulders. There were dark circles under his eyes that weren't there before, and a constant tension in his jaw. The light, that lucky spark that people always noticed in him, had dimmed. He was still functioning, still moving forward, but all the grace had been stripped away. Every step was now a conscious effort. And in his desperation, he started connecting the dots. He began to understand, in that quiet place where truth lives, that the harmony he took for granted wasn't his own doing. It was an extension of you. He finally realized that when he walked away from you, he walked out from under a covering of favor. So he tried to come back. The message that appeared on your phone wasn't an apology for your pain. It was a selfish SOS. He spoke of how things had been tough since you'd been gone, a veiled admission that his world was falling apart. He was asking for a second chance, but what he was really asking for was for you to come back and fix his mess, to reignite the light he had so carelessly extinguished, just so he could warm himself by it again. All right, let's break down what really happened here. His mistake, the one that cost him everything, wasn't just choosing to leave. It was that he didn't understand what he was walking away from. He didn't see you as a partner. He saw the peace and order in his life as his own accomplishment, his own inherent luck. He never connected the dots. He never realized that the calm seas he was sailing on were a direct result of the lighthouse he were for him. He thought the favor that followed him, the easy successes at work, the way things just fell into place, was his birthright. It wasn't. It was a grace extended to him through you. He was living under a covering he didn't even know was there. So when he decided to leave, he wasn't just ending a relationship. In his spiritual blindness, he stepped out from under that protection and into the storm, completely unaware that he was the one holding the umbrella that he had just discarded. He chose ego over blessing, and the universe simply corrected the balance. He didn't lose his luck. He threw away the source of it. And now you are witnessing the harvest. This isn't karma in the way people think of it, a lightning bolt of cosmic revenge. No, this is something quieter, more organic. It's the simple, unavoidable principle of a plant trying to grow in soil it has poisoned itself. His life hasn't imploded. It has simply lost its flow. The grace that once smoothed his path has been withdrawn, and now he feels the friction of every single stone. You see it in the little things. That lucky streak he always had, the one he wore like a coat, it's gone. Now he's the guy whose car breaks down in the rain on the way to an important meeting. He's the one who misplaces the one document he can't afford to lose, spending hours in frantic, fruitless searching. These aren't tragedies. They are constant, draining irritations that grind a person down. They are the daily evidence that the universe is no longer conspiring in his favor.
Physically, the change is undeniable. He looks tired. Not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix, but a deep, soul-level exhaustion. You can see it in the slump of his shoulders, as if he's carrying a weight no one else can see. The easy confidence has been replaced by a quiet, persistent anxiety that pulls at the corners of his mouth and sets a permanent tension in his jaw. The spark in his eyes, the one that made people feel like anything was possible around him, has dimmed to a low ember. He's still there, but the light he gave off has been extinguished. At work, where things once fell into place for him with an almost magical ease, he is now bogged down. He's caught in loops of miscommunication and pointless disagreements. Projects that should be simple become inexplicably complicated. He's working harder than ever, but he's just spinning his wheels, going nowhere. He used to move through his professional life with an effortless glide. Now every step is a trudge through mud. He's fighting for every inch of ground he once took for granted, and he is losing. He just doesn't understand why the fight is suddenly so hard. And so, in the quiet desperation of a life that had lost its rhythm, he finally started connecting the dots. It wasn't one single event, but the slow accumulation of friction that forced him to look back. He remembered how when you were with him, things just worked. A difficult client would suddenly become agreeable. A misplaced wallet would turn up in the first place he looked. A looming head cold would vanish overnight. He had called it his good luck, his winning streak. He never once called it by your name. He never understood that he wasn't just living with you. He was living under a covering of grace that your presence provided. That's when the message came. It wasn't a grand apology. It wasn't a confession of his blindness or a plea for forgiveness for the pain he caused you. It was far more selfish and far more telling. It was a weak, probing text sent late at night that read something like, "Hey, I know it's been a while, just been thinking about you. Things have been kind of tough lately." You read the words, and what you felt was not a flutter of the heart or a pang of lingering sadness. What you felt was a deep, resonant calm. It was the quiet certainty of someone who has already weathered the storm and is now standing on solid ground, watching someone else flail in the waves they chose to enter. You saw his message for exactly what it was, a spiritual SOS. He wasn't reaching out to you, the person. He was reaching out to you, the solution. He missed the peace, not the source of it. He wanted the warmth of the fire back, but he still had no intention of honoring the one who tended the flames. He was asking you to come back and fix it, to bring your light back into his world so he could see again, to bring your sense of order back into his chaos, to stand beside him so that the favor he took for granted might return. He was treating you like a good luck charm he'd carelessly misplaced and now wanted to find again, hoping it would still work. And this is where your story truly turns. This is the moment of your liberation. Because you understood that your peace was not a utility for his comfort. Your spiritual covering was not an umbrella he could borrow whenever it started to rain in his life. The blessing he walked away from was not waiting for him at the door, ready to be let back in on his terms. With a quiet firmness that came from a deep healing, you closed that door for good. Your reply was not angry or bitter. It was simple, clear, and final. You wished him well, but you made it clear that your paths were separate now. You didn't owe him an explanation. You didn't owe him another chance to stand in your light while casting his own shadow. You chose yourself, your peace, and your own journey forward. He had to learn that some losses are permanent. He didn't just break up with you. He severed a connection to a source of grace, and the consequences of that choice were now his to carry alone. You are no longer the solution to his problems or the answer to his prayers. You are on your own path, walking in the full brightness of a light that is now and forever will be entirely your own. He has to learn to find his own way in the dark. Let's talk about the signs of the fall, because what you see in him now is not the storm itself, but the landscape after the rain has gone, leaving everything washed out and cold. This is the quiet reality he lives in today, the direct result of a life lived without favor. First, you see it in his face. It's not just the dark circles or the tired lines around his eyes, but it's the absence of light behind them. His expression is permanently muted, as if the color has been drained from him. The easy smile he once had is gone, replaced by a tight, forced gesture that doesn't reach his eyes. He looks perpetually braced for bad news, carrying a low-grade tension in his jaw and forehead. It's the face of a man who is working twice as hard just to stand still, a profound weariness that sleep can't touch because it's his spirit, not his body, that is exhausted. Then there is his behavior. He's become hesitant, almost fugitive. The man who once walked into a room with an effortless confidence now seems to shrink, avoiding direct eye contact.
There's a nervous energy about him. He fumbles with his keys, checks his phone constantly, and his movements are jerky, lacking the smooth, easy grace he once possessed. He's lost his rhythm.
He moves like someone who is constantly second-guessing his own steps, afraid of tripping over something unseen. This isn't the posture of a man facing a great tragedy. It's the posture of a man worn down by 1,000 tiny defeats. And finally, you hear it in the descriptions of his environment. His life, his home, it all feels cold now. It's not about a lack of money, it's about a lack of warmth, of life. The space he inhabits is merely functional, a place to exist but not to live. The vibrant energy that once surrounded him, the very atmosphere that made things feel blessed and easy, has evaporated. What's left is a sterile silence, an emptiness that echoes his own internal state. He is living in the stark, quiet consequence of his choice, a world where the sun still rises, but for him, it no longer provides any warmth. And this is where your story finds its final, quiet resolution. Because for him, the future is no longer a path, but a circle. He is now trapped in the very life he chose, a world stripped of grace, where every day is a repeat of the one before, a low-grade struggle against a current only he can feel. He will keep trying to fix the symptoms, never understanding that the problem isn't his car or his job or his health. The problem is the absence of a blessing he willingly walked away from. He will spend his days searching for a warmth he can no longer find, like a man looking for a sun that has set only for him. His future is one of quiet desperation. He will see others move forward with ease and wonder why his own efforts lead to nothing. He will mistake the consequences of his choice for bad luck, never fully grasping that he wasn't unlucky, he was ungrateful. He will try to replicate the peace he once felt, perhaps through other relationships or new ventures, but it will always feel hollow, a cheap imitation of the real thing. He is a man who was given a priceless gift, and in his blindness traded it for pocket change. Now he is left to count those coins in the dark forever. But your future? That is where the light has returned. You have learned the most profound lesson. The blessing was never for him. It flowed through you. By removing yourself from his life, you did not lose anything. You simply redirected the river. The peace, the favor, the quiet harmony, it was never his to begin with. It was always yours. Now it nourishes your own soil, and everything in your life begins to grow with an effortless beauty. Your liberation is not in watching him fall, but in no longer watching him at all. His story has become a distant echo, a lesson learned and a chapter closed. You walk forward not with the weight of what was lost, but with the lightness of what has been reclaimed, yourself. The favor he thought was his birthright now illuminates your path, making your way clear. You are no longer the source of someone else's light. You are the light itself, and your future is bright, clear, and entirely your own. He has to learn to live with the shadows he created, while you are free to walk in the sun. Let's be clear about what happened. His greatest mistake wasn't leaving you. It was his profound ignorance of what he was walking away from. He never saw you as the source of the calm in his life. He saw the peace, the stability, the effortless way things worked out for him, and he claimed it all as his own good fortune, his own inherent luck. He loved the warmth the fire gave off, but never once acknowledged the person tending the flames. Your pain was never just about a breakup. It was the agony of watching him discard a priceless gift he never knew he was holding. Now you are witnessing the inevitable harvest. This isn't a dramatic, cinematic collapse. It's the slow, grinding reality of a life that has lost its grace. His world hasn't ended. It has simply stalled. The car that was once his pride now betrays him at the most crucial moments. His health, once robust, has frayed into a collection of nagging aches and a bone-deep exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. At work, where opportunities once fell into his lap, he's now trapped in cycles of miscommunication and pointless arguments, his progress blocked at every turn. He misplaces important things, creating chaos where there was once order. The change is written on his face and in his posture. The easy confidence is gone, replaced by the slumped shoulders of a man carrying an invisible weight. The light in his eyes has dimmed. He's lost that spark, that lucky streak that people always noticed, and he has no idea why. Eventually, the quiet desperation forced him to connect the dots. In the stillness of his failing life, he began to understand that the harmony he took for granted wasn't his own doing. It was an extension of you. He finally realized that when he walked away from you, he stepped out from under a covering of favor. So he reached out.
The message wasn't a heartfelt apology for your pain. It was a selfish SOS, a weak admission that things had been tough since you were gone. He was asking for a second chance, but what he truly wanted was for you to come back and fix his mess, to reignite the light he carelessly extinguished so he could warm himself by it once more.
And in that moment, seeing his message for the self-serving plea it was, you found your freedom. You understood, with a clarity that settled deep in your soul, that your peace was not a utility for his comfort. The blessing that flowed through you was not a good luck charm he could misplace and then demand back. With a quiet firmness, you closed that door for good. You wished him well, but you made it clear that your paths were now separate. He chose to walk away from the light, and now he has to learn to navigate the shadows he created on his own. You are no longer his solution. You are on your own path, walking forward into a future illuminated by a light that is, and always was, entirely your own. And then the moment will come. It will arrive not with a storm, but with the quiet buzz of a phone in the middle of the night. The message on the screen will be from him. It won't be a grand apology full of remorse for the pain he caused you. It will be something small, weak, and profoundly selfish. Something like, "Hey, I know it's been a while. Things have been kind of tough lately. Was just thinking of you." As you read those words, you will feel nothing. Not the old ache, not a spark of anger, not even a flicker of hope. What you will feel is a deep and resonant calm. It is the absolute clarity of someone who has already weathered their storm and is now standing on solid ground, watching another person flail in the waves they willingly chose. You will see his message for exactly what it is, a spiritual SOS. He isn't reaching out to you, the person. He is reaching out to you, the solution. He doesn't miss your heart. He misses the harmony your presence brought to his chaotic world. He wants you to come back and relight the fire he so carelessly extinguished just so he can warm his hands by it again. He is treating you like a good luck charm he misplaced and now desperately wants to find, hoping it still works. And this is where your story turns. This is the moment your healing becomes your liberation. You understand with a certainty that settles in your bones that your peace is not a utility for his comfort. The spiritual covering that flows through you is not an umbrella he can borrow every time it starts to rain in his life. The blessing he walked away from is not waiting at the door to be let back in. With a quiet firmness that comes from a place of profound self-worth, you will close that door for good. Your reply will not be angry or bitter. It will be simple, clear, and final, wishing him well but making it understood that your paths are separate now. You owe him no explanation. You owe him no second chance to stand in your light. He chose to walk away from the favor, and now he must learn to live in the world he created for himself. You are no longer the answer to his problems. I am free.